name is Miss Heather, and I work for the Lexington County Public Library in the Gilbert-Summit Branch. I'm so glad you've joined us for Storytime today. Let's start with an opening song called Hello Friends. We'll sing it 2 times through. Hello friends, hello friends, hello friends, it's time to say hello. Hello friends, hello friends, hello friends, it's time to say hello. Very good. Well, today for story time, I want to talk to you about some of the really neat and interesting, unique animals that live in the Arctic. So to start with, I want to show you where the Arctic is. This is a globe, which is a small model of the Earth. And we live right here in South Carolina. And so to find the Arctic, we would travel all the way up through the United States and up through Canada till we got up to this region up here by the Arctic Ocean and where the North Pole is. And this area up here is very, very cold and icy. And there are some certain animals that live in that region. Now, I have a few friends from the Arctic that have joined us today. We have our little ringed seal, who's very sweet and cute. We also have a little Arctic wolf. And we have a Canada lynx. Now, these are all some animals that live in the Arctic. But there are also polar bears, narwhals, snowy owls, caribou, Arctic foxes, and Arctic hares, which are rabbits. There are lots and lots of different types of animals that live in the Arctic. So today, I would like to share with you a book that will introduce you to some of these Arctic animals we've been talking about. The first story I want to share with you is called Pup and Bear. It is written by Kate Banks and illustrated by Naoko Stoop. I would also like to acknowledge Schwartz and Wade Books, which is a division of Penguin Random House Publishers, and thank them for allowing us to use their book in our story time today. So let's start with Pup and Bear by Kate Banks. And here's the title page. Whoosh! When the great gray owl swooped down, screeching, "Hoo, hoo!" the Arctic wolves knew that the big freeze was on its way. They took shelter in a snowdrift, and they listened to the fierce wind holler and roar. They watched the snow blow in spirals, wrapping the world in a fluffy white coat. But then the wind's bitter cold breath turned warm, and the sun appeared. The big melt came, and one lone pup found itself on a sheet of ice, spinning out to sea. The pup slid into the water. He swam and he swam. When he reached land, he burrowed into a snowbank. He was tired, and he wanted his mother. The pup closed his eyes and fell asleep, listening to the throb of silence across the still landscape. He woke to the feel of a cold nose against his fur. The smell was familiar. It was a polar bear. "You are not my mother," said the pup, flattening his ears against his head. "I am not your mother," said the polar bear, "but I can cuddle you and keep you safe." The pup was shy and frightened. "Aren't you going to eat me?" he asked. "Polar bears eat wolves." "Not this one," said the polar bear, shaking her head. "Climb on my back. and I will take you to my den." The pup stretched a paw forward cautiously. Then he climbed onto the polar bear's back. And they crossed the tundra under the watchful eyes of a trio of baby puffins learning to fly. Back at the den, the polar bear licked and cleaned the pup. "I am not your mother," she said, "but I can feed you and keep you warm." The next day, they set off across the wintry tundra. When they spotted a walrus with long, sharp tusks, the polar bear bellowed and chuffed. "Where are we going?" asked the pup as they neared the water. "I am not your mother," said the polar bear, "but I can show you where to catch a fish." They passed a snow goose perched on a nest of eggs. They sniffed the trail of a seal as he tried to outsmart them. And they stopped at the water's edge where the fish and the lemmings came and went in this wondrous wheel of life. The sun shone down on the crisp, crackling snow, and the polar bear rolled in the snowbank. "Come on," she said to the pup. "I am not your mother, but I can play with you." But when the pup tugged too hard at the polar bear's fur, the bear growled. "I am not your mother," she said, "but I can scold you." Then she nuzzled the pup and tickled his tummy. Tired at last, the pup curled up against the bear, and they napped, listening to the wind whimper and sigh. The earth turned round and round, and the big freeze came, followed by the big melt, until at last the polar bear nudged the wolf, who wasn't a pup any longer. "I am not your mother," she said, "but I know it's time for you to go." She nuzzled the wolf one last time, and the wolf nuzzled her back. Then he walked out into the wide world. The wolf howled to the midnight sun, which glowed on the horizon, where day ended and night began. And he was answered by the cry of another wolf. Soon he was leading his own pack across the frozen tundra. Then one day the wolf came upon a polar bear cub huddled in a snowdrift. "Where is your mother?" asked the wolf. But the cub didn't know. The wolf sniffed the cub and rubbed its fur with a wet nose. "You are not my mother," said the cub, cowering. "I am not your mother," said the wolf, "but I can cuddle you and keep you warm." "Aren't you going to eat me?" asked the cub. "Wolves eat polar bears." "Not this one," said the wolf, shaking its head. "Climb on my back, and I will take you back to my den." The polar bear clambered onto the wolf's back. "I am not your mother," said the wolf, "but you can stay with me until you're big enough to be on your own." And the wolf led the pack back across the tundra, along the path that went round and round, in the wondrous wheel of life. The end. That was Pup and Bear by Kate Banks. Now, if you would like to stand up, I want to do a little action rhyme with you, and it's called Polar Bear, Polar Bear. So if you want to stand up, we're going to do Polar Bear together. It goes like this. Polar Bear, turn around. Polar Bear, touch the ground. Polar Bear, reach up high. Polar Bear, touch the sky. Polar Bear, touch your nose. Polar Bear, grab your toes. Polar Bear, touch your knees. Polar Bear, sit down, please. Very good. All right, I would like to share with you next 2 poems about some Arctic animals. And this book of Polar Bear, Arctic Hare, Poems from the Frozen North is by Eileen Spinelli. And we would like to thank the Boyd's Mill and Kane Publishing for allowing us to use their book in our story time. So the first poem I want to share with you is a rhyming poem, and it goes like this. Polar Bear Family. Polar Bear Mama moves with grace to find a sheltered winter place. She digs a snow cave wide and deep, where she and baby cubs can sleep. Come spring, the cubs set out for fun. They romp all day in the Arctic sun. They slip and slide, they race and roam. Then, weary, ride their mama home. And the second poem I want to share with you is about another Arctic animal called the beluga whale. Look at the beluga whale. Beluga, trapped beneath the ice, rams his head against it twice. The ice gives way, beluga crashes upward as the dark sea splashes. He takes a mighty gulp of air. He bumps a startled polar bear. He interrupts some seals at play. Then satisfied, he swims away. Beluga. I hope you enjoyed our 2 poems about the Arctic animals. And I hope you've enjoyed this story time today. I would like to close with a song that we will sing a couple times through. And it's called, It's Time to Say Goodbye. It is time to say goodbye to all our friends. It is time to say goodbye to all our friends. It is time to say goodbye. Give a smile, wink an eye. It is time to say goodbye to all our friends. It is time to say goodbye to all our friends. It is time to say goodbye to all our friends. It is time to say goodbye. Give a smile, wink an eye. It is time to say goodbye to all our friends. Very good. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I hope you have a wonderful day and enjoyed learning about the Arctic and some of the amazing creatures that live there. Bye-bye.